get.
Back here on First Things First, it is our favorite time of the week. Three-time Super Bowl champ Mark Schlereth joins the show. No matter what happens now, we've already won.
Now, Jeff, what are you going to do, though? Because yesterday, Bart Scott, Canty earlier in the week, you had the same read. You told them
that
it was favorite. That was like your thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
Our favorite hour of the week? You had to get them told on that.
Exactly.
Okay, that is not true.
Okay.
I've changed the adjective. Okay. Today you are our favorite guest.
Okay.
Stink. Let's get going here. Hey, if we squint and stretch and allow ourselves to be completely open-minded, then it is possible the Dallas Cowboys are back in the playoff picture. Technically, their win Sunday night over the Eagles did put them at 4-5, tied with Philly, not far behind Washington, who sits atop the division at 6-3. So who's going to win the division? Troy Aikman has a take that may surprise you.
Right now, if I had to pick somebody, I'd pick Dallas. The Thanksgiving game is huge, but I think that if Dallas can keep it within 2 games going into Thanksgiving and then win that game, I think they're positioned pretty well. The next week or so will be interesting to see what happens.
All right, so, Stink, what exactly does Dallas have to do if they do want to do this? They want to take the NFC East.
You watch the way they played, the way they controlled the line of scrimmage on both lines of scrimmage. We get so caught up in quarterback play. We get so caught up in, what is a guy doing throwing the ball, and how many deep shots does he take, and is he just underneath? When you dominate a line of scrimmage like they dominated the Philadelphia Eagles on both sides of the line of scrimmage, you're going to win most of your games, 85% of your games. And one of the big changes for them, they changed their left guard. Their rookie left guard struggled. Connor has struggled.
Yep.
He was
undersized.
a little undersized. Connor Williams had the knee injury. Xavier, what's his name? Suafilo.
Yep.
He came in.
High pick by the Texans.
Right. He came in there and absolutely struggled in the first drive and then dispensed justice. I mean, he went out there and just drove people, and they started running the ball. They had all the play action stuff. They had all the zone read stuff. I mean, if they do that on a consistent basis, they can play with any team. When they show up like that and they understand that we're just going to out-hit you.
How many times, though, have you seen that happen from this team? How many times have they been able to do that?
It's been inconsistent, but a lot of times it's inconsistent because you get away from it. You get to the point where, like, there's the thing, a lot of offensive coordinators and a lot of just, let's just call them coaches in general, like, you don't get a lot of juice outside the facility if you're handing the ball off and you're just dominating the line of scrimmage and you're not making any specials and you're not doing...
Not in this NFL.
Right, no.
It's hard to function.
Because what ends up happening to you is you just become a guy that has, they're the best O-line in the business, and, they just can run the ball.
2 years ago.
They could just do this.
You mean, so you're saying the coordinator doesn't get credit in the media and in NFL circles for winning that way,
so,
let
me ask you this. Every guy that's coordinating right now, what's his desire?
To be a head coach.
To be a head coach. If it's the system and it's the physicality and it's the O-line and it's Zeke Elliott and you're not getting any credit for the quarterback development, how often are you going to get another opportunity when you've been a head coach before to get another head coaching job? You're not. Your name doesn't come up. It doesn't come up with the Lincoln Rileys. It doesn't come up with the other, the Sean McVays back in the day, or the Matt Nagy's.
Or even Pat Shurmur, who got another chance because people saw, look at what he can do with Case Keenum. Like that was the case for him.
So the problem is what wins and what consistently wins and what will never change is dominating the line of scrimmage. But what doesn't get you a job at the next level is having your team just dominate the line of scrimmage, because you're not getting credit for that as a coordinator.
And it's about matchups. Dominating line of scrimmage, and you got to be concerned about what you see in Washington. You cannot overcome the significant injuries that they have on their offensive line. Adrian Peterson, as we get late in the month of November, December, as those carries start to hold up, because that offense has struggled of late to be able to move the football. They tried to do everything they could to give the game away to Tampa Bay. They tried to do everything that they could.
I never seen anything like that before.
So I could understand when you look at the Cowboys, they made a change as far as their offensive line coach, made a possible change as far as the scheme, doing more combo blocks and then getting up on those linebackers, allowing them to run. Who they have and the way they're playing and who they're going to match up with, I can understand why Troy's saying that. But also Troy's saying that after he saw them beat the Eagles, so he knows the head-to-head. Know they play them again back at home. He knows that, he skipped over the Atlanta game, so he already gave him a victory in the Atlanta game. So now they're 500. All right, so now they're 500. Get them to Thanksgiving. They have a huge advantage of playing at home on Thanksgiving. Any team that plays traditionally on Thanksgiving at home has a huge advantage over that road team that's traveling. So I could understand why he'd been like, yeah, let me look down the road 2 weeks. And yeah, I could see why he would be able to pick them, because of the strength of the Cowboys is one of the weaknesses that the Redskins will have.
Right. This is the case for Dallas. It's very simple. Dallas has struggled on the road all year. Their only road win was the Eagles. The rest of the year, after the Atlanta game, their only road games left are the Colts and the Giants. Like, even on the road, we can beat those teams. Point two, the Washington O-line against the Dallas front. Exactly the point you made. The team we're chasing, they have been devastated by injury at the spot. We might be the strongest on our team, that defensive front seven. And point three, and the one Troy didn't mention but goes unspoken with any NFC East discussion, is how many wins you really need to win this division. It ain't 10. I don't think so. I think 9 probably gets it done. That's the case for Dallas. Here's the case against Dallas. There's only 5 teams in the conference we know they're better than. The Giants, the Lions, the Bucks, the Cards, and the Niners. Those are the only teams in the conference they have a better record than, and those are the only teams in the conference that by the eye test I can say, they're clearly better than. There's 16 teams in this conference. The case against Dallas is, we can't just give them the Atlanta game. And I'm not ready to just give them the Washington game. And the week after that, they got the Saints. The case against Dallas is, in 2018, passing's never been more important. Despite everything you're saying being true, it's never been more important. And they have the most limited quarterback of any team that is in the playoff discussion. The case against Dallas, to me, is an easier one to make than the case for Dallas. But I understand how you can make the case for Dallas.
Look, all I know is that we sit out here, and after every single game so far this season, we've said, well, if Dallas did this consistently, and if Dallas could just if they can give Zeke 25 carries, or $150, that's great yardage for him is great, and Dak just has to throw this. But they haven't found 2 weeks in a row where they can't even get home and away right. I mean, they're so inconsistent that I have yet to see this team put it all together more than one game at a time, which is what you'll need to do if you do want to pick up.
All that is true, Jenna, but we're going to have probably 2 to 4 teams in the month of November. They're going to get a little glimpse of hope, and they're going to start with injuries or what. They're going to overcome those things. Quarterbacks who aren't completing passes down the field. That's what we see every year. Teams adjust. They're through that training camp, that adjustment phase, and they get into some things that they do well. Is Dallas going to be one of those teams? That's the question. There's a bunch of teams right now, 500, one game above 500, one game under 500. But they're going to find their way and find themselves being in that playoff hunt and making that last step and getting over. Dallas will be one of those teams. They have enough good players, but we can't get distracted to think that just because they're in the playoff hunt that this is a good football team.
Exactly.
This is what...
But I think that's the thing, though. There are a lot of teams that are in the playoff hunt that aren't good football teams. There's only a few. There's only a handful of really good football teams. And I will say this. If they dominate, again, a big if they dominate the line of scrimmage, Scott Linehan, you mentioned the matchups. They'll create matchups. They'll create, in that passing game, they'll create one-on-ones. If they can run the ball like that, they'll create a bunch of one-on-ones. And then it's just, can our guys beat your guys? Can you beat them? Because they'll have a bunch of different matchups that will be set within the parameters of their receiving core. There is no question they'll get one-on-ones. Can you break it? Can you break it?
And Amari Cooper has helped out that core. Sure. Because those guys are just role players now. They truly have a number one in Amari. And, yes, they are positioned to be able to make this push towards the end. But there's several teams that can do that also, Jenna.
All right, well, it starts with the Falcons on Sunday. Mark, stick around. Coming up, does Aaron Rodgers' playoff push begin tomorrow night? Speaking of, that's next on First Things First.
Might be a loser leaves town match. Packers Seahawks.
Tell him what he's thinking.